Welcome back everyone. We're going to be doing another comparison today, and we're going to be talking about the iPhone SE2 and the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Now I will tell you before I get too deep into this, and I'll tell you two things. First of all, if you have all the money in the world, the iPhone 11 Pro Max is by far the better iPhone. You're going to be getting, better screens, better cameras, better battery life, in my opinion, better build quality. It's just the better phone overall. But if you're on a budget, the iPhone SE2 might be the more compelling phone to go to, so I don't blame you for watching this video. And the second thing is, I'm actually giving away an iPhone SE2, so if you want to enter that giveaway, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All those links are linked down below, and I'll be picking the winner on May 8th. Now, the biggest differentiating factor between these two would probably end up being the price tags. So the iPhone 11 Pro Max is selling for, over $1,000 brand new from Apple, but you can pick them up in the used market for even cheaper. And I've seen them cheaper on Amazon too. And I think I've seen them for about like $900 something. They're probably still like around $1,000, but I'll link one of those down below if you want to pick them up for the lowest prices that I find on Amazon. You can help support the channel at the same time. The iPhone SE2, however, is still selling for that $400, which is a crazy good price for a brand new phone. This is, the newest iPhone technically, and there's really not too much to hate on it when you consider that specific price tag, but there's also a lot of other kind of moving factors that kind of, factor into the pricing of this phone, because the iPhone SE2 isn't even the only iPhone sold brand new by Apple. There's obviously the 11 series, but there's also the XR and 11. And once you start getting into that price range, maybe just picking up an 11 Pro Max might be better off, who knows. Now looking on the front, obviously these are probably the biggest differences. The iPhone 11 Pro Max, actually we'll start off with the SE2. It has that 4.7 inch 750p display, which is an IPS panel, and it's not an ugly phone, it's not an ugly display, it's nothing like that. It's a pretty good display at the end of the day, but it's good because of the price tag. Like if this was like $1,000 phone, this would not be a good display at all, but because it's a $400 phone, it's not bad. But the other thing is, I've seen so many phones, even budget phones now by Samsung with their A series of devices, like the Galaxy A51 that I just picked up. That's the same exact price as this phone, but this one doesn't look as good as the A51. That A51 looks extremely good. It almost looks like a Galaxy S20, but the iPhone SE2 looks just like an iPhone 6. So I don't really know how people are going to feel like it, but it is what it is. You have True Tone on it, which is really cool. But other than that, I really don't really like the way it looks. But again, I'm not their demographic. Maybe, people who are coming from an iPhone 7 or iPhone 6 and still prefer that home button, maybe they'll like this one, who knows. Whereas on the iPhone 11 Pro Max, you guys already know, it has that 6.5 inch Super Retina XDR OLED display, probably one of the best panels in the market. Probably, the S20 is probably better. Even the OnePlus 8 Pro is probably even better than that, but 11 Pro Max, has a beautiful panel on it. It has True Tone on it as well, which is really cool. And once you turn in that screen or you turn it on, you will see how beautiful it is. And side by side, yeah, the 11 Pro Max is a little bit bigger. Actually, it's much noticeably bigger, but still you're getting some cool things with that. But on top of that, there's very little bezel around the display. You just have that notch up top, which ultimately is a really cool trade-off, you know what I mean? And that's a really cool thing. You have pretty much all the display on the 11 Pro Max, whereas on the iPhone SE2, some people might like it, some people might not, but I can definitely tell you the 11 Pro Max looks better in the front, so I'd probably give the edge to the 11 Pro Max at the end of the day. On the bottom, lightning ports on both, and on the back, another pretty big difference. So they both have glass backs. The 11 Pro Max has this kind of like matte texture glass back, where the iPhone SE2 has this standard glass back. Single camera setup on the SE2, triple camera setup on the iPhone 11 Pro Max. And some people might not care about it. It might be like a whatever type of thing, but I can definitely tell you, when you have a phone that has multiple camera setups, it's almost always better than even a single camera that just might be slightly better, because you have more camera features, you have more camera things you can do with it at the end of the day. But I'll talk about that in the camera aspect. But on the back, I'll definitely side with the iPhone 11 Pro Max. They both have IP certification, which is cool as well. On the iPhone SE2, IP67 dust and water resistance. On the iPhone 11 Pro Max, IP68 dust and water resistance. So the difference is, on the SE2, you can go up to 1 meter of water for 30 minutes. On the 11 Pro Max, you can go up to 4 meters of water for 30 minutes. So I would definitely side with the iPhone 11 Pro Max being the more durable one in the long term. And you know what? On the outside, that really pretty much covers it up for the most parts. But the main things to consider, or that at the end of the day, the 11 Pro Max, they might feel kind of the same in the hand. The 11 Pro Max definitely feels a little bit more premium, but with the SE2, you're not paying for the better build quality, the better screen, or whatever. You're just paying for those new processors and software updates. So kind of keep that in mind. On the 11 Pro Max, you're paying for that better screen, you're paying for the better camera. So it's not like the iPhone SE2 was just a cheaper version of the 11 Pro Max, and that's not the truth. That's not the case at all, and I think some people might think that. So the 11 Pro Max by far is far superior in the build quality for sure. Now hitting on these softwares, this is probably going to be the most boring aspect of it. They both will have the same exact software updates, and some people might be like, wait, why? Because the 11 Pro Max is older, so shouldn't the SE2 last longer? That's not the case at all. The reason being is because the SE2 and the 11 Pro Max both have the same exact chipsets inside of them, the Apple A13 Bionic, and that is what Apple kind of uses to kind of push updates on their phones. So some people might already know that, but when you have a phone like even the SE, original SE and 6S, those are planned to get the same software updates because they have the same chipsets inside of them. So even though the SE2 is newer, both these phones are going to be getting these same software updates, which is pretty impressive for the iPhone SE2. You're paying $400 now, and you're going to be gaining so many software updates throughout the life of it that it's going to be lasting for an extremely long amount of time. And whether that's 4 years from now, 5 years from now, whatever it is, maybe Apple will switch up their software life cycle, I don't know. At the end of the day, the iPhone SE2 surprises me more about the software updates than the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So definitely these things are going to be lasting for a very long time. Now hitting on the performance aspect of it, they both have that Apple A13 Bionic chip, hex-core CPUs. The main difference is in the RAM. The 11 Pro Max has 4 gigs of RAM. The iPhone SE2 has 3 gigs of RAM. And at the end of it, what I'll tell you, the 11 Pro Max is going to be the slightly faster one, in my opinion, or they'll probably be super close in speed, but you'll be able to hold more apps in the background on the 11 Pro Max than on the iPhone SE2, which, isn't a crazy thing. I think, 3 gigs of RAM is still a lot, but that's kind of like if you're playing very intensive games on the 11 Pro Max, let's say you're playing Relay Racing 3 and Asphalt 9 and whatever other games, Nova or whatever, if you go side by side and you want to play those games like consecutively, you'll have a better chance of keeping those apps in the background on the 11 Pro Max than on the SE2, and that's really all that matters at the end of the day. So performance wise, they're both going to be very good performing phones. The iPhone SE2 has been, very, very good performing. All the speed tests that I've done with it, every single thing I've thrown on the iPhone SE2 has been beautiful. It's been able to run all those games perfectly fine, but I do feel like the 11 Pro, even with that gesture design, gives the impression that it is a little bit faster and smoother. And I personally do like the 11 Pro Max's whole entire, speed and performance more than the SE2, but it's really close. I mean, they're both almost exactly the same. Again, the main difference is within the RAM. So I don't think you're going to be picking one phone over the other based off the performance, but the performance wise, I'd still probably give to the 11 Pro Max, but SE2 is still an extremely fast phone, and it's been beating out my Galaxy S20s sometimes and my iPhone XS's and all this stuff. So it's definitely a fast phone for sure. Now that's enough of the performance, and moving on to the cameras. All the camera sensors on all these phones are 12 megapixels, so a single 12 megapixel sensor on the SE2 and a triple 12 megapixel camera on the 11 Pro Max. Both phones can do 4K at up to 60 frames, which is really cool. But other than that, it's quite clear the 11 Pro Max is the better phone when it comes out of the camera. You have that wide angle lens, telephoto lens, and that ultra wide sensor. Or on the SE2, you only have that wide angle lens, which isn't, a big deal to a lot of people, I'm sure. But it is something that's really, really cool. And at the end of the day, having more camera sensors, in my opinion, will almost always do you better than just having a single 12 megapixel sensor. So for sure, in my opinion, I think the 11 Pro Max has the better camera sensor for sure. On the front, 7 megapixel sensor on the SE2 and a 12 megapixel sensor on the 11 Pro Max. A big difference here, you can do 4K 60 on that front camera on the 11 Pro, or you can only do 1080p on that SE2. Again, maybe not like a world's different, but that is something to consider at the end of the day. So in terms of the camera, that pretty much covers it. Now moving on to the battery life, the iPhone SE2 has a 1821 mAh battery. The iPhone 11 Pro Max has a 3969 mAh battery, so pretty much a 4000 mAh battery on the 11 Pro Max. And for sure, at the end of the day, not only does the 11 Pro Max have the better battery life between these two, but the 11 Pro Max I think has the best battery life out of any iPhone ever released, which is crazy. So the 11 Pro Max definitely for sure has a better battery life between these two. They both have wireless charging, which is really cool. And as I've stated before, man, the SE2's battery life is one of those aspects that's not necessarily the best looking thing for the SE2. I like the iPhone SE2, I think it's really cool, but the battery life is one one of those things that might not be the best. And, for a lot of people, they might have decent battery life on it. For me personally, I mean, it's been like pretty average of what I was expecting. To kind of sum up this comparison and answer the question, I mean, there's so many different ways to go about it. If you're coming from an iPhone SE2, you're watching this a year from now, you want to go to an 11 Pro Max, whatever. If you have all the money in the world, get the 11 Pro Max. If you want to save money and, you want to get the best value per dollar, getting an iPhone SE2 is probably the best way to go. However, like I've stated before, there are a lot of phones in that middle range, between the SE2 and the 11 Pro Max. I would probably recommend just as much as I would recommend the SE2. Phones like the iPhone 10, phones like the iPhone 10R, you can get those in the used market for extremely cheap and sometimes even around the same price as an iPhone SE2. And I would recommend those phones over the SE2. The main difference would be the software updates, but these phones are still going to be getting software updates for a very long time too. So that's kind of where I'm at. I will link an iPhone 10, 10R, even a 10s down in the description, as well as the 11 Pro Max. If you want to pick them up from there, you can. But that's really pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section as well. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys to check it out. More importantly than everything else, I'll have every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.